think about it.
Patrick Jan, hi, how are you?
Nice to see you.
What's going on in your life? Where are you now?
Podcast is up. Everything's all right. I'm in Poland, but we're just gathering the last stuff, and then we're moving to Armenia soon.
My first question to you is why you decided to move to Armenia from Canada, because usually it's vice versa. People are moving out of Armenia.
Yeah, I mean, I hear the same question here in Poland. Why are you in Poland? We should go to Canada. But really, Western countries are a brand more than anything else. For me, anyway. I can definitely understand a lot of the experience of people who want things that function properly. They want a better life. I get that. But the West is not what it used to be. Again, this is just my opinion for me. It's not what it used to be. The cost of living is extremely high. The taxes are extremely high. It's not a place where I feel comfortable as an entrepreneur. It's not a place that values entrepreneurship. It's not for me to trash Canada. It's just not a place where I feel comfortable. That's really it. I've been moving further and further east my entire life. So I moved to Spain. Then after Spain, I worked in Amsterdam. And then from Amsterdam, I moved to Poland. And then from Poland, now moving to Armenia. So I guess I'm just going further east, all the way to Heidenik.
So the reason that you want to move to Armenia, not because the Armenia is the best, but is because you don't feel comfortable in Canada anymore. Is it right way to put it, or no?
No, I haven't lived in Canada in 6 years now, 7 years, and maybe even longer than that. I haven't been to Canada in over 2 years. So I've been living in Poland for the last 4 years. Going back and forth to Armenia, and we just felt my wife and I wanted to move to Armenia in general. We're planning a family, so we want to have I want my kids to be raised in an Armenian environment, which they wouldn't be able to do here in Poland. And then, of course, the war happened, and that just kind of it turned up the urgency. It made me want to go even more to be in Armenia, to be part of the solutions in the country rather than complaining from the sidelines. So that's really that was the mentality. Like, the plan was there before. Armenia's already been an attractive place for us. We always come and we spend months on end there, back and forth. It's very close. As you know, I have family in Armenia, my brother and my young nephew, my young niece. So I like spending time with them. It was already in the cards. It's just that when the war happened, the urgency was there. The urgency is there more than before.
And sorry, I didn't hear the last part. The connection was bad.
I said the urgency is there much more than before.
Because of the war.
Yeah, because I mean, I understood that at the end of the day, if we want Armenia to have a future, every single one of us has a part to play in this. I think that we have huge cultural problems, but we also have huge cultural potential, and I think that we need to get away from, Armenia has great potential. I've been hearing that for 10 years. It's like, yes, potential undeveloped is wasted. So I think that Armenians need to decide if they want to become a part of the future of the culture. If not, cool, just assimilate, do whatever you want, but you don't get to be in Glendale complaining about the situation in Armenia. So either get off your ass and do something, or whatever. I mean, for me, it's just a question of, okay, what am I doing to be able to help Armenia? And so I understood that sooner or later, like, all paths end up leading back there. So.
But what is the overall your feeling in diaspora? Like, most of the people, people from diaspora think the way that you do about Armenia to become the part of the solution, not just complaining, or it's just small number of people like you are trying to give some solution and move to Armenia and bring some values here?
Definitely not. I wouldn't say that the idea is shared by a huge chunk. I mean, one thing that's interesting is that the complainers are always the loudest people. And there's different ways to help Armenia. There's a lot of diasporans who are doing amazing, amazing work. I'm speaking specifically to the keyboard patriots, as they're called, right? Or is it Eric Hagopians calls them the keyboard fidain? My mentality was, you had 44 days to prove how much you loved Armenia. And if you didn't come in those 44 days, it's been 4 months since the war has ended. There's still refugees to feed. I know people have spent every single day feeding refugees, housing refugees, rebuilding. if you haven't done it in that time, you don't get to complain. Right? This is for the 1% of the Armenians who are sitting and complaining. As a broader issue with our culture, I think that complaining is part of who we are, right? I think you've seen those statistics that in terms of corruption levels, this is even before the revolution, Armenia was somewhat less corrupt than, say, like Belarus or Kazakhstan or Russia.
Mm-hmm.
However, corruption perception was far higher in Armenia, right? In other words, we tended to complain more about the problem than the problem actually impacted our lives, right? So there is this element of victim mentality in Armenians that I don't like. That I think that it's time we changed it, because it's not leading us anywhere. Do many people share my thoughts? I'm seeing more and more of them. Are people contributing and building, and are more and more Armenians interested in coming? Yes, I've had some people who had zero attachment to Armenia before, right? Who are just Armenian on paper, and all of a sudden they're doing their passport papers. They're going to come at least spend 6 months there, 6 months back. But I think one of the biggest reasons also is just Armenia has a PR problem. I think that one of the biggest issues is Armenia doesn't, there's no synergy in the way that Armenia presents itself to the diaspora, and the way that, for example, Israel does to its Jewish diaspora, or in the way that Ireland today does to its diaspora, or Poland today does to the Polish diaspora in Chicago or whatnot. Whereas you're starting to see a lot of them returning because they stopped presenting the country as, you know, it's your nationalist duty to come and build a house in Vanadzor, where really it's, hey, come to Armenia, start a business. There's opportunities here. There's huge opportunities to build a business, to build a community, to make friends. There's all kinds of advantages that are not being presented. So I think that if diasporans start to know more about this stuff, then the interest will be there a lot more.
So you think that Armenia is an interesting place for people to come and live and do a business?
I think it's an amazing place, and I always give her as an example, but my wife is, she's a Polish from Lithuania, and so she speaks fluent Russian and English, so she is super comfortable in Armenia. She loves Armenia. She grew up in a village, so she loves having, like, you know, organic fruits and vegetables that her mom does in the backyard, whatever. So she loves the nature in Armenia. She loves the fruits and the veggies. She loves the lifestyle. She loves the wine. She's a tech, she's not an entrepreneur. She's employed by a Swedish company, but she's technically a remote worker, right? She hasn't set foot in Sweden. She works in Poland. So she can easily do her work in Armenia. And she loves that environment. She loves the kind of people that she meets. So it's a very interesting indicator. And I'm also seeing, I've been meeting a lot more non-Armenians who are established in Armenia. I have a good Latvian friend, an Indian friend. If you guys are watching this, you know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
I met a French guy who owns multiple properties in Yerevan, and he loves it. And so I'm starting to see stuff that I didn't see 10 years ago in Armenia. I didn't see foreigners coming and being like, yeah, this is a cool place, you know. So there's definitely something there. There's definitely hardships, but there's more of a branding issue. There's more of a PR problem that Armenia is not showcasing. Hey, here are all these amazing advantages that we have. You can take advantage of this. And what's so cool about Armenia is the barrier for entry is super low. Everybody knows everybody. So before you know it, you're sitting with a sitting MP in the government, or you're sitting with with the CEO of a tens of $1 million valuated company, you know, all these startups and so on. Everybody knows each other. So all these cool projects, the synergy is just amazing, and it happens really, really, really fast. Armenia is not showcasing this enough. It needs to be showcased. It needs to be pushed forward. And if more diasporans understood this, then a lot of them would come. A lot of them would kind of make the change, or at least check it out and find out. And then of those people, a smaller percentage will likely stick around. And if they have a project they can sink their teeth into. Yeah.
And what do you think how we should do it? Like how we should PR Armenia, and how we should market it so more people from diaspora and not from diaspora, like foreigners, will come and work here and invest here. And not only like it's interesting point that you are bringing, like after the COVID, like COVID is not ended, but work changed a lot, and a lot of people start to work remotely. Like I'm doing business outside of the Armenia, And like it used to be that you have to fly and go there and meet the people. Now there is no need for that, and you just can do a Zoom call like we are doing it right now, and do everything. And a lot of people, for a lot of people, foreigners, not Armenians, Armenia can be a very interesting place to come and work here. To the big companies that are not located in Armenia and have like quality living here, which is much cheaper, for example, than in Silicon Valley, and the quality of food probably much better than there.
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly it, right? This is the mindset, is that if you're thinking you're living locally in Armenia but you're thinking globally, just in terms of the opportunities, right? I'll give you a very, very good example. I have a friend of mine who's he's Lipanahai, but born and raised in Montreal. He had a restaurant. Now, I knew him because we used to do sales when we were younger. So we were both in sales and retail, like we used to work at the mall. We were selling shoes. But he was a great sales guy, very charismatic, like really nice guy. And he opened a restaurant, and then of course COVID happened. So, things didn't work out. And he was talking to me recently. He's like burnt out. He's exhausted. He says, I need a change. I'm tired of Montreal. I said, dude, come to Armenia. Mm-hmm. He says, well, I went there like 8 years ago with birthright, And I'm like, yeah, but it's not birthright. It's different. He says, okay, but like, I'm like, you speak fluent French, you speak fluent English. There's tons of multi-million-dollar startups or even startups with that kind of potential. If you just show up and be that bridge, you have sales experience, you can just be that bridge, handle their sales, say you'll take 10%, and right away, you can create that bridge that they need to be able to scale, and you can make a really, really good salary. And the best part is, on top of that, you can live very comfortably in Armenia. Like I said, if you're registered as a self-employed professional, you have a 5% turnover tax on your income, which is freaking amazing. If your clients are outside of Armenia, so you have foreign earned income, it's a 5% dividends on foreign earned income. Just FYI, for my companies in Latvia, it's 20%. So you get to keep 95% of what you earn. And on top of that, your rent is super cheap. Your foods are super cheap. We found Armenian produced olive oil, which was cheaper than regular olive oil. Like, we found amazing stuff under there. And so the point is that you can live a very, very good standard of living for $1,000. You're making more than that.
You think you can live good earning $1,000 in Armenia?
I don't think anyone should want to earn $1,000. I think everyone should aim to earn 5, 10, or whatever makes their soul happy. For me, the goal is to create, this is my long-term goal in Armenia in general, is to create a class of people who are independently wealthy, entrepreneurial mindset, who take personal responsibility, because this is, again, this is what I talked about earlier, is there's a collectivism issue with Armenia, in that it has helped us in our times of need, but now in our times of strife, it's actually harming us, because everybody's waiting for someone else to solve our problems. And I don't think it's a proper way to look at the future of the country. We're all sitting and waiting. I see all the wonderful suggestions on social media. We should do this. We should do that. I saw under my interview on CVNet, someone's like, I was talking about this exact thing. Come move to Armenia, come live in Yerevan, you can have a great life. And someone's like, Yerevan mer gyureru mecha, not just Yerevan. We should live and repopulate our villages. I go and check, she lives in Montreal. We need to go. I don't want to go and live with cows. I'm sorry. I don't want to go and become a villager. If you care about it so much, get off your ass and come and do it. But of course they won't. Why would they? Why would they? Someone else has to preserve Armenia for them, but we're going to stay comfortable. Sorry I'm emotional about this. It does get me upset, but I wouldn't be doing all this if I didn't believe in the future of Armenia. This is why I'm doing this. I wouldn't be doing all that I'm doing if I didn't believe in that. So to answer your question, should you aim for $1,000? No, you should aim for more. But what I'm saying is that your bare minimum, you can still live really well on less than what you're spending to live on your 1 month's rent in Canada or in the US or in Europe. But more importantly, and I think this is, again, part of the branding issue that Armenia has, is that they're framing Armenia as a duty, right? Like, this is your Hayrenik, you owe it to the Hayrenik. Not really, and it hasn't worked. It didn't work in 30 years. And I've met some startups when I was there. I'm doing some consulting work for a few startups in Armenia. And a lot of them, it's interesting because you talk about their ideas, their good ideas, their project is good. And almost invariably, because I'm Spurkahai, they go, should we brand it as an Armenian business, help donate money to Armenia? I'm like, no. Show me, this is a really good idea. Show me you can make it profitable, and I will come as an investor. And then go to the diaspora and say, hey, come and get rich off of our product.
Yeah, it's interesting point. Like in one of my podcasts, like that I did recently, I was talking with a founder of IT company, Stepan. He was telling me the same, that opening business and doing business in Armenia because you are Armenian is not a long-term good solution. You have to aim to become like the reason that you are doing business is to have profit. And if you are doing business in Armenia because you are only because of this is Armenia, it's not a long-term good solution for the business.
Yeah, and this is what I mean by there's a cultural shift needs to take place, because from the diasporan perspective, a lot of the way that they treat Armenia is like a charity project. And there's a lot of studies on this. I mean, a lot of people will disagree, but the data is pretty imperative that when you're treating, look, welfare systems don't work. They create dependency on welfare systems. And now there's a recent study that remittances also create dependency. Remittances meaning you go and work in Russia, you send money back to Armenia. That's a huge chunk of our GDP. This creates dependency. It does not foster, it doesn't foster growth. It doesn't foster development. And there is, from the Armenian perspective, there needs to be a shift in terms of entrepreneurship, which is happening, by the way. Every time I go to Armenia, I am so impressed by some of the brands that are coming out, these new projects, I'm wearing my I'm not going to show you now, but I'm wearing my Made in Armenia socks. They're so comfortable. 2,000 dirham, 100% cotton. I love it. With the tees, the new kinds of packaging, and of course there's Mark Sivuni, which I'm a big fan of. There's all these cool brands and concepts that are coming out, which is excellent.
Let me interrupt you. You bought that socks because they were Armenian, or you bought that socks because they are better than others, like price-wise or quality-wise? Because
yeah, I tried it out because it's 100% cotton, made in Armenia and not made in Turkey. And the second reason was because I needed new socks and my cheap H&M socks ripped. I loved it so much that I'm going to be buying only those socks from now on, because it's a good brand, because it's good quality. And this is what I like. I like to patronize good brands. I like to patronize good businesses. And this is what needs to get across, is you can be extremely successful if you are good at service. You create a good product, even within, I'm going to make a shout out to the restaurant Zanazan on Saryan. I walked in, I sat down with my wife, the owner comes up, and we ask him, what's the Zanazan salad? And he doesn't say, oh, it's our house salad. He explains to me, we make the madzun and we chop up, he explained it in such an interesting way. We're like, yeah, we'll take this with it. The service was exceptional. It was amazing service. We went back 3 times and we told all of our friends about it. And I asked him, I said, are you like Syria heist? I'm like, oh, the Syria heist came, sorry, but before the war, the service in Armenia was absolutely terrible. No one smiles at you.
You mean the war in Syria?
Before the Syrians. Yeah. Then the Syrians came, and the service improved, and the locals improved as well to match that. And this is what's so cool, and this is what I mean by we need to have the diasporan. In other words, we complement each other. The Armenians are very good with the hard skills, the tech building, the engineering, the maths, the sciences. And then the diasporans are very strong with the service. They're very strong with the sales. They're very strong with the marketing. And so there's an opportunity for that synergy. There's an opportunity for growth together. And I think that we need to exploit it, because ultimately that's the future of our homeland. That's how we can build a sustainable country.
And how you do see it? How to build systems or platforms that like people from diaspora and Armenia businesses will be collaborating with each other and will have like positive results. How do you see it? How we can come up with something that will have a sustainability and work long term?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Long term, I can't answer because I haven't thought that through. It's still very very fresh. However, what we're working on right now, we're trying to get past something called a remote work visa. So I'm in talks with certain MPs, and they're going to be pushing the bill in the National Assembly. I'm not holding my breath. I don't know how soon that's going to happen, and it doesn't matter. We don't really need to. It's not really necessary because most Armenians can come visa-free, except Canadians, which makes no sense. But
you need visa to come to Armenia if you are from Canada.
Yes, my wife, who's not Armenian, can stay in Armenia for 6 months. I need a visa. Anyway. But yeah, I mean, these kinds of things need to change. But forget the legislative perspective. We're also we have a grassroots campaign that we're trying to put together, which will be launched very, very soon. We're starting a Work from Armenia challenge, and that's going to be geared towards remote workers, diasporans in particular, but also foreigners, to come and work in Armenia and really just do the boost the PR for Armenia. That's one of the reasons I'm on this. It's one of the reasons I'm doing this interview with you, right? Is to get the word out, is to say like, hey, there's tons of opportunity, and even if you have no magical love for Armenia, it's not a perfect place. It's a wonderful place, and I love it, but it's not a perfect place. It's fine. But even if you have no love for it, even if you want to just make money, keep your money, live like a king, drink amazing wine every single night, go to very nice restaurants every single night, that's still really good. Come do this in Armenia, because you'll be spending money in Armenia. You'll be patronizing Armenian businesses. You'll be patronizing Armenian workers who will then raise their standards to match you, even if you have crazy whims and so on. And ultimately, this is how a middle class is built. You know, it's all these ancillary services that circle around them. Especially, look, for poor countries, they tend to have like Armenia has more women in sciences per capita than I think any other European country. Or in the ex-Soviet Union or something. Don't quote me on this, it's a weird stat, but these poor countries, they tend to focus on these hard skills, right? Medicine, engineering, law. So I have this masseuse in Armenia who's blind. He does amazing massages. But his work is considered a luxury. So he doesn't have regular work. So I'm trying to teach him, be an entrepreneur in it, right? Like, call people once a month, say, hey, you haven't come in a while. Can I give you 10% off your next massage? And he's going, but won't that bother them if I do this? I said, no, that's a great thing. Keep doing it. Teaching him to think in that perspective. And I don't want to lose people like that, because his massages are extremely affordable. But the point is that when there's an extremely rich class and an extremely poor class and nothing in between, all of these great services, all the arts, all the creativity, all of the work that is deemed quote unquote non-essential, it dies. And we need to keep that. So this is what's so cool, is that more and more people start to come to Armenia. They start to expect different things. So what happens is, sooner or later, market is going to be there to meet that demand, which means that the quality of living is going to end up improving. But this is kind of the catch-22 of the Armenian diaspora. And I've caught myself saying these things, which is one of the reasons I'm putting my money where my mouth is I'll move to Armenia when things get better. But the truth is, some of us have to take a step backwards so that our country could take a step forward. That's really it. Because we're waiting for things to get better, and Armenia is waiting for us to come to have things get better. Everyone's waiting, and nothing's happening.
But what is your motivation? Like, only because you are Armenian, you want Armenia to become better place? I'm not believing that.
Be selfish. That's fine. I like to live in a place where I can live comfortably. I can drive to the mountains in 30 minutes. I can buy property for very cheap as an investment. I can store money in an excellent banking system that has a high yield on my USD or euro, which I get paid in foreign currency, right? So depositing it in Ameria Bank will give me a very high yield. It's a place where my kids can be raised Armenian. I'm not coming with rose-colored glasses thinking that it's my Heidenik and all of a sudden I'm going to have a spiritual connection to the place. And this is, I think, a more it's a way to look at it.
I think we need to talk about it really, from a reality perspective. We don't need to PR it like come into Armenia because you are Armenian. Like, we need to PR it as like come to Armenia because there is value here. Like the quality of living is good. Like we have good food. There are a lot of businesses here. Education is getting better. Like medicine is getting better. Like and it's much cheaper. For example, like a lot of people from diaspora like coming to Armenia to do their teeth, because the quality of dentist in Armenia is high and the prices are not as extreme as in Europe or in USA. Like people are coming from Russia to Armenia to do a nose job, or they are coming to do here to do their teeth, and it's amazing. I think we need to talk more about what the person will get, not like come here because you are Armenian or help Armenia because you are Armenian. Like, we need to show that they can create something here, and there is a value here that you can use not only for the community but for your personal benefits. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I agree 110%. So if you want to ask me from an emotional standpoint, why did I choose Armenia over Georgia? Because Georgia has certain advantages that Armenia does not. This is the God's honest truth. So why did I choose it? Because I'm Armenian and because I want to help my identity. But I know that this is a purely emotional thing. And
okay, it's one thing. It's one emotional thing, but it's not ready to make a decision like move to another country.
It's not a sustainable way to build a life. Exactly. You don't build a plan based on emotion. But from a purely selfish standpoint, as a business owner, as somebody, I've done consulting work for multi-million-dollar online businesses that are looking for the type of talent that would cost pennies in Armenia. I just hired 2 Armenians this week, by the way. They're phenomenal. They're excellent. I'm so excited, and I'm paying them very, very handsomely, and I'm going to keep paying them handsomely because I love them and I want to help good work. Even if they were Filipino, I would have paid them a lot because I like good work. But I think that this mentality of excellence needs to be instilled in Armenians, right? For them to understand that the quality.
You think we are missing it?
Yes, I think so. I think there is a top to Pazuchun. There's a little bit of a good enough mentality. It's by the way, it's far, far less widespread than when I was there 10 years ago, even less widespread than the first time I set foot in Armenia, which was in 2003. The country is growing by leaps and bounds. I love it. When I'm pointing out flaws, again, I want to be clear here because as Armenians, we don't like when our dirty laundry is being exposed. But I think that it's very important to acknowledge what our faults are because that means we can improve them. That's a good thing. When we take ownership of our faults, of our mistakes, of our flaws, we go, okay, how can I change certain things? So yes, I think certain things, I'll give you one of my favorite examples. My friends, these Australians, opened a new restaurant on Cascade. And the contractor was doing the staircase. He was doing the corners. He screwed it up. And instead of fixing it, he took a melan, like a kriç, and he just like gabuit nergets or cherevi.
Yeah.
And it looks so stupid. And you're thinking like, okay, it's in the stairs. No one is going to notice. But it doesn't matter because how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if good enough is okay, that's your standard, well, this is where we're going to live. And unfortunately, this is not how you build a successful country. And yes, you can afford to be good enough if you're living next to wonderful neighbors who treat you with respect and whatever. But unfortunately, Armenians and Armenia does not have the luxury of being good enough. We have to be excellent. We've understood this now more than ever, right? We cannot afford to be anything less than excellent. Our service sector needs to be excellent. Our industry needs to be excellent. We need to be in the top 5 countries ease of doing business. We need to be in the top 5 countries in terms of personal freedom. We need to reach these levels that are excellent so that we can start attracting not just Armenians, but we can start attracting other people who have no interest. And I dare say this is a controversial topic, especially now. And again, from an emotional standpoint, I want to be clear here to everybody watching. I am furious. I watch every video, every atrocity. I'm furious at our neighbors. But a friend of mine who's a CEO of a successful company, he was a special forces officer in Kerbajar. And he said something that I agree with 100%. He says, our goal in Armenia is to make Yerevan and Armenia as a whole such an exciting place to work in that even Azeris and Turks are going to want to come and become a part of our startups. They're going to want to work for Armenians. They're going to want to work to become part of our country because then they're not going to go home and want to kill us. And that's ultimately the only sustainable, successful future we can have as a country. To make our place so freaking irresistible that the whole world has a stake in protecting us the next time something like this ever happens. So we need to think in terms of excellence. Nothing else is going to do, unfortunately.
But what in general, like diaspora thinks about opening the borders with our neighbors? Who are not
I'm not the diaspora, I'm just Patrick.
Like, what do you think then? I will rephrase the question.
Again, if you ask me emotionally...
Like, you said that we need to be such a good place that Azeris and Turks would like to work here. And if they will like to work here, they will not like want to kill us.
Well, what do you think Israel does? Why do you think Tel Aviv is a party capital? So that these little Saudi princes you know, who are living the halal lifestyle in Jeddah. They fly over for a weekend. They can get their hookers, they can get drinks, they can party, and then they go back and they go, you know, do I really want to bomb this place where I have such wonderful memories? And look, it paid off. 70 years later, countries who literally wanted to destroy Israel, their entire existence was based on wanting to destroy Israel, one after another are now opening their borders with Israel and normalizing relations. You think Israel isn't going to win long term? I don't mean short term. I don't mean it looks good in the newspaper. I mean long term. In the fact that if they have a safe environment, their military expenditure doesn't need to be as high as it is, which means that their country can have better services, which means that they can reallocate certain resources to have a more prosperous and more equal society, if you want to use those terms. Mm-hmm. It's a brilliant strategy that we unfortunately don't have the foresight to adapt. We're just too busy being angry. So right now, should we open the borders? No, because I'm busy being angry. I'm freaking angry. I get that. But in 100 years, maybe, why not? Maybe why not? Because I've met multiple Turks here I can't say the same for Azeris, but I've met some Turks here in Europe. I've met some Turks in Canada. I've taken them to Armenian restaurants. Made them eat dolma and lahmacun, and like, oh, it's like my mom used to make. I'm making them see that we have more in common than that tears us apart. And I hope that someday, because the truth of the matter is that we don't know what the future is going to look like. So I prefer us to have peace between our neighbors so we can focus on getting ourselves off of our knees. But, in 100 years, maybe. Tomorrow, no.
Oh, tomorrow no, but in 100 years you think it is possible. But another thing about Israel and about the peace, like if you want to have a peace, you need to be the strongest one. Like Israel has very strong army. They have like sophisticated new generation of weapons. Like they are like very, very strong from force side, from military side, and their neighbors are not fighting against them, not just because of the fun, but because Israel is strong.
They had,
and they can hurt them.
They almost lost 2 wars. So in the 70s,
almost doesn't count.
It doesn't matter. The point is that they've skirted disaster. They've been much weaker than they are now. And yes, strength absolutely has to do with it. But here's the question: how do you build a strong army? Israel's an excellent study, but so
you can build a strong army when you have a strong economy. I think everybody understands that.
How do you build?
You build a strong economy by creating value, not only importing but exporting also. Like right now, Armenia doesn't have a strong economy because we are importing more goods and we are spending on sending more capital outside that they are bringing in.
Not really. Switzerland is the biggest trader of oil. Actually, it's one of the biggest traders of oil in the world, and they don't have any oil in their country whatsoever.
Yeah, but they are adding value. I'm saying
export thing. It's not a question of real
export is not only like physical things. You can export software.
Fair enough. But again, how do you create value? Who creates value?
Like money and talent, business.
How do you create money?
By having talented people who are ready to start businesses.
Exactly.
I believe that.
It's individuals. Individuals create economy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Not the governments. I think the businessmen, entrepreneurs are creating economy.
Yes.
They are creating the businesses, and businesses is adding value. Then they are paying taxes, and then government can spend the taxes building roads and giving welfare to people who need that.
I mean, I disagree with a lot of that, but we don't have to go into those details. But I'm a voluntarist, so forget the welfare stuff. Look, the state's basic function for me, liberal in general, is the defense of its people, and the state failed to do that. Their only job, and they were unable to do it. So let's forget welfare for a second. Their only job is to protect us, and they're unable to.
Okay. I agree with you. Like welfare, I mean that the people who need social mobility or the system screw them up. Like maybe government can help them. Like me personally, I am a believer that you need to create your future, and you need to work hard and sweat enough to like become better. But there are some people who are, because of the environment or some stuff, aren't able to do it. and maybe their government need to help. But I totally agree with you that the first job of the government is to create safe environment where you can prosper and create.
But I think that this is what's so cool about our culture. To be honest, I was watching an interview. Can't remember who it was, but this was when the war had just ended, and somebody there was an interview, and the guy was saying, like how embarrassing, pardon me, that we have all these NGOs that are feeding refugees and housing refugees, and looking, and our government is nowhere to be seen. And I was thinking, like, this is what's so freaking amazing about our culture. Are you kidding me? This is one of our greatest strengths, that we're helping each other out. So the people who lack mobility, again, it's our job as individuals, as Armenians, to be doing these kinds of things. It's our job to be helping those who need help. It's our job to be creating these, whether it's a charity or whether it's you directly hiring and employing, let's say, Armenians with disabilities or soldiers who are veterans and who have lost limbs or whatever, giving them jobs, giving them opportunities. And it's far, far more healthy from a mental perspective that you're in charge of your future and you're building value and you're taking that pride. Again, back to that massage therapist friend of mine who's blind. He's been struggling with COVID and all that. There's no tourists. So I posted in a group saying, this guy's amazing, give him a call. He had like 10 people calling him, and he gave me a call, and he was just so thankful. He's like, I don't know how to express it. And I said, like, you do good work. I'm happy to give your name out. You do good work. I want you to have more clients, right? So
yeah, it's totally normal. Like, it's really good if you are like see something great or someone that's doing a great job. Like, you should talk about it. You should share that information. And another thing that I agree with you, like, you should not wait for government to do something for you, because government is not creating money or creating value. Like, individuals are creating value. And if nobody is doing anything, you will not have a strong economy or strong government. It's something that like more people need to understand, that government is not creating money and they are not going to help you. The only one that should help you is yourself. Do not expect anything from anybody.
100%. I'll even add that I believe that as a general rule. However, I would say it's twice as true for Armenians. So if anybody's actually interested, there's an American historian that I really respect. His name is Thomas Sowell. He's the one who wrote Basic Economics. But he has this other book that's really great. It's called Black Rednecks and White Liberals. It's an inflammatory title, but within that book, he has an entire chapter on what he calls middlemen minorities. And these are minority groups who have always been oppressed. They've been poor in their home countries, but extremely successful everywhere else. So the Chinese in South Asia, the Jews, of course, the Lebanese in Africa and the Caribbean, and Armenians.
Armenians, yeah.
He has this entire chapter on, within Iran, how Armenians essentially started the coffee trade through Iran into Europe. They started importing coffee. The first Viennese coffee place, Pascal and Diodata, were the ones who brought it over. He was saying how during the industrialization in Russia, out of 266 textile factories, 200 of them were owned and operated by Armenians, even though they're 1% of the population of Russia. So we have this history of industriousness. And I'll give another more personal example. That a friend of ours was driving through Vayot Dzor not too long ago. And he saw all these restaurants, like on the streets, restaurants at Moika, restaurant Moika, restaurant Moika. So he asked the taxi driver, like, are there that many cars that need to be cleaned that there's a Moika everywhere? And the taxi driver says, this is because of Nikol. In other words, because there used to be an oligarch who was running that town, and his son has a Moika, no one else could have a Moika. And then after the revolution, when these guys were kicked out, right, just standing out of the way, Armenians started springing up and building all these businesses. So really, I'm not that worried or concerned about what the government is doing or not doing. As long as they get the hell out of the way, as a culture and as a people, right? In general, I think human beings have the ability to adapt and create value, but I think Armenians doubly so. We're placed in this amazing, situation where for the last couple hundred years, we're always giving our best and our brightest to the rest of the world. We're so proud that the color television was invented by an Armenian, that the ATM was invented by an Armenian, that the MRI machine was invented by an Armenian, that Nubar Afeyan founded Moderna, that's now rolling out the first COVID vaccine.
Yeah, but what does it mean? Yeah, okay, like it was all created by Armenians, and like a lot of people are proud of it. But what does it give today? Nothing. like we are not creating anything now,
Yeah.
and we are like are proud what we did in the past. Okay, the past is past. Like, what are we going to do about it now? Why we don't have like Armenians in Armenia who are creating that kind of stuff? Like, thanks God, like we have that kind of people right now in Armenia, and the number of that kind of people are growing. But like, we need to talk about it. Like, we don't need to be proud of the past to fulfill today's dreams. We need to create something to fulfill our need of recognition or something like that. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, we need to do something today and create value and be proud of it, not be proud of the past. Like, it's good to have all that people and to learn about the past, to not make the mistakes, but we need to be proud what we are doing today.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. You know what turned me off nationalism? Living in Poland.
Really?
Every year they have this big, like, their Independence Day march, and every year there's like 100,000 people, and they're all like families. They're proud Poles. You know, patriotism and nationalism are not the same thing, and I really admire. Poles remind me a lot of Armenians, so that's why I feel comfortable here as well. They're very, very similar to Armenians. They're very pro-Armenian. During the war, I was wearing my Defend Yerevan shirt, and everyone was like waving. And Poles love us for some reason, but they're very, very similar to us. They've suffered a lot. The world has abandoned them. They have a lot of the similar grievances that we do. But the skinheads would start showing up at these events. And the first few years, I was like, all right, whatever. And then by the end of it, I'm just fed up because I started looking at these people. And they always are they're universally underaccomplished. And I've understood, I stopped and I went, holy shit, like, is this me? Am I going, oh, Armenians were this or that? But what am I doing? What am I contributing to Armenia? What is my impact that I'm making now? And again, like, I think if this is where the cultural shift needs to take place, we need to look at ourselves. I think we talked about this before, but you know, during the war, like, same thing. I grew up, one of my cousins is Greek. And I remember with my Armenian friends, oh man, I love the Greeks, they're good people. Okay, my family's from France, they're Francais. Ֆրանսացիները հա լավ ժողովուրդ են, բայց եղերնի ադենը մեկը չեկավ մեզ օգնելու։ Okay, ասկաց, անգլիացիները մեկը չեկավ։ Okay. 100 տարի հետո, it's the same story. No one came to help us. No one came to help us. When are we going to learn that no one's freaking coming to help us? Because we're not giving people a reason to come and help us. Mm-hmm. We're the first Christian country. It's been 1,700 years. The world has gone over them. They don't care anymore. What are we offering today in terms of value? What's it called? Kuwait got attacked by Saddam Hussein. It's a tiny country invaded by what was at the time the fourth largest army on the planet. Within a few days, the largest coalition since World War II gathered to kick them out and protect their sovereignty. Why? Because Kuwait has oil. If Dubai were to be invaded tomorrow, same reason. Dubai doesn't have oil, but it's a tech, finance, and business capital. So we need to make ourselves so important now, not 100 years ago, not 1,700 years ago, but now, so that if anyone wants to mess with us, everybody has skin in the game. Everybody has a stake in it. And speaking of skin in the game, Armenians need to have skin in the game. Armenians in the diaspora need to start having skin in the game in Armenia itself. I don't care.
But how they are going to do it? They don't live in Armenia. They get their money outside of Armenia. They have all their values. All their families are outside of Armenia. How they will have a skin in a game in Armenia? How?
It starts by spending more time there, first of all, because the Armenia that exists in certain diasporans, a certain subgroup of diasporans' mind is not the Armenia that actually exists. Armenia is a real country. It's not the land of Herosner and Sasnadzerer and Vartan Mamikonian. It's a real place today with real people who have very real concerns. It's a place with a lot of problems that need to be worked on and that need to be solved. So a lot of the romanticism definitely has to be dropped, and that comes with more visits. It comes with like Irad Shufel. It really, there has to be a concerted effort. And then the second half is to stop treating it like a charity project. Mm-hmm. I mentioned earlier, the government should eventually have money and then start building the roads. Why is Himnadram building highways? The diasporan money should be to invest in either Armenian projects that deliver return on investment. That's how you skin the game, first of all. Or it should be to invest in interesting Armenian young people, sending them to be educated at La Sorbonne, at HEC, at the London School of Economics, provided that they return to Armenia and then start spreading value there, right? Meaningful, tangible. Again, it's not like we're inventing the wheel. Israel has done it. Singapore has done it. And right now, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania are doing it. They're all small countries surrounded by Russia. Yes, they have better neighbors. I get that. But it's not like we can't look at other countries and go, okay, what are they doing? What should we be doing? Simple as that. There's no shame in that. Even our enemies, we're all angry at Israel right now. I got it. But it doesn't change the fact that they're a tiny, beleaguered country in the same situation as us who have survived against all odds. What are they doing that we should be doing? It starts there. It starts with personal responsibility. And again, this is a cultural shift that needs to take place, because we have, in Armenia, like, we have this very weird, it's not a uniquely Armenian thing either, by the way. Like, my dad and I were talking about this, which is pretty funny. My dad's ethnically Irish, just FYI. That's why I look the way that I look. And I took Irish history when I was studying in university. And the Irish had something called the Fenians. These were like groups of radicals, radical nationalists who were American Irish. They weren't even Irish from Ireland. They fought in the American Civil War, and then they tried to invade Canada twice in order to conquer Canada and then exchange it for Ireland's independence. So yeah,
that's a good strategy.
I mean, yeah, it failed miserably both times. But it's just, my point is, like, we're not unique in the fact that we have, like, there's some crazy, let's say, delusional people. But the point is that we have to. We have this weird thing where we're looking for easy answers, and we have to have, it's either one person who's to blame for all of our problem, one person is our savior for all of our problem. This country is either our friend or our enemy, even though in reality countries have interests, not friends. If we just did X thing, then everything would be solved. And it's like, my message in a nutshell, when it comes down to individual and personal responsibility, it's not sexy. It's not sexy. It's long. It takes a long time to change your mentality. It's like, I'm going to look after my little square here. I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to do excellent work so I have a great reputation amongst my clients. I'm going to be kind and friendly to people. I'm going to smile at people in the streets. I'm going to live the way I want Armenia to be. And then maybe my friends, they'll start doing it too. And then maybe their friends will start doing it too. It's not sexy. It takes time. And people don't want this takes time. They want the fast shit, right? I think we need to get rid of that mentality and understand that, look, if you want change, if you want really fast change, it starts with you.
It's like clean up your room before, like, changing the world.
The Canadian national treasure, Dr. Jordan Peterson.
Jordan Peterson, yeah.
Exactly.
I started to read his second book.
Oh, really?
Yeah, his book is out and it's international bestseller already.
I am not surprised. The guy is an excellent person. But yeah, like, look at Anyway, I think that we need to really move away from a culture of mediocrity. We need to move away, like, just, I'll give you another really good example.
Yeah, but you know what's the problem with that? Like, sorry, I will interrupt you. That the politicians are exploding that mentality. They are, like, pushing the idea that you are very good, you are talented, but you are living poor because of someone else. And they are exploding that idea. They are using it to get more votes, and it's not only Armenian thing. It's happened everywhere in the world, like in United States, in Canada, everywhere is the same shit.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, man, I agree wholeheartedly. And again, another advantage of Armenia is, like I said, everybody knows each other. So if you want to make an impact, you can make it faster, right? You have a larger network quicker than, let's say, somewhere in Canada where there's 33 million people. However, I don't think these odds are overwhelming. I think that like you said, Armenia is not unique in that. The way that certain Armenian media organizations do it for nefarious reasons, and the way that they manipulate, like, there is a propensity for fake news. I have a friend here who hasn't been to Armenia in 30 years, but she assures me that Aliyev swam in one of the general's pools in Shushi. Like, they would visit him all the time. I don't know how she knows that. She hasn't been in Armenia in 30 years, but everyone knows something and they're willing to swear it. This is, we have to, with young people in particular, we have to move against this culture of anti-intellectualism, like this emotional response to everything. I think Armenians are not taught to think. In general, the West is not taught to think anymore either, right? And this is why someone like Jordan Peterson became so popular so fast. It's like, look, just get your shit together and sit down and ask yourself, okay, what are my values, right? Like, this is why Jordan Peterson's message is like so interesting. It's like no one teaches kids in school, like, what the hell do you value?
Yeah.
You know, how are these your own value? And it's even more challenging in Armenia because we're so strong on the cohesiveness of our culture, which is fine. Like I said, it's helped us a lot in times of danger, but ultimately it's the crazy people who move the culture forward. And again, you want to find the culture who's figured it out? Israel is so, you know, you have the radical Orthodox Jews on one side, and you have the super flamboyant, ultra gay, trans, whatever, chilling on the same bus. I'm not saying this is my vision for Armenia, by the way, but my point is that understanding that these dynamics, this polarity is what creates conflict. And in a civilized society, this conflict leads to the creation of new ideas. The more individual liberty there is, the more personal responsibility there is, the more we start to look at, okay, what are my values? What do I want for myself? It might be different than what my parents want. In my case, it's definitely different than what my parents want. But when we start to live in this way, this is how we start to push the envelope. This is how we start to innovate. This is how we start to put the fact that Armenians have been so successful outside of Armenia is because we put ourselves in cultures where we're so different that we had to create commerce in order to gain that kind of respect that we want, to gain the social standing that we want. This difference, this polarity is what necessitates innovation. So this introversion that a lot of Armenian culture has, it's detrimental to us. And so the diversity that somewhere like Estonia has, because they're right next to Finland and next to Latvia, the diversity that Georgia has, because they have Muslims and they have Westerners coming and so on. So the diaspora needs to fill that void in Armenia. And the opportunities are endless. We have Armenians who speak perfect Arabic. Start a business, export to Qatar, UAE. These guys have money they're willing to do. We have Armenians who speak Russian. Start a business, link up with Ukrainian startups or Belarusian startups or Russian or Kazakh startups. We speak perfect French. Do business with France, Belgium, Luxembourg, Switzerland, Quebec. The language is there, the culture is there, and this is where that gap needs to be bridged. And the opportunities are all there. They're just sitting there, but we need that change of mentality. And it starts with the individual, it starts with ourselves. It starts with, yes, clean your room before you try to change Armenia and go, okay, what can I do to create value? What can I do to create some excellence? What are my values? What do I want? What does Armenia look like to me? What is the Armenia that I want to live in and that I would like to create? And then throw yourself in it. I mean, become obsessed.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So, like, to finish up our talk, like, what are the first steps that you are going to take when you will come back to Armenia, and what you are going to do here, and how you are going to lead by your example, so more people like you will think about moving to Armenia and creating value here?
Well, I'm going to go to my favorite restaurants and favorite bars and spend a lot of money.
That's a good thing.
We've been back in Poland for 3 weeks since Armenia, and we're going crazy. We're like, why the hell did we leave? We should be back in Armenia. Yeah, I miss restaurants and seeing people and living normally. But yeah, in terms of tangible steps, first of all, we already have a Facebook group. So if you're interested, I can share the link. But it's for Armenian entrepreneurs and freelancers in the diaspora and outside of diaspora, and in Armenia, outside Armenia and in Armenia.
Okay, you like share the link with me, and I will put it on the description so more people can join.
Excellent. Just a little asterisk to this. There are some questions. Answer the questions properly, guys. I know Armenians are like, just join. Since the war, I'm very careful who I let in. So if you don't answer the questions, you're not coming in the group. I don't care. All this to say, though, so this group, we're bridging that gap between remote workers who want to work in Armenia, so diasporans who want to start to repatriate. We already have a few who started their passport process and so on, which is excellent. Or Armenians in the diaspora who want to hire locals. So like I said, I've hired 2 people, got a few people hired, and we're also starting a project where we're going to be mentoring soldiers, veterans of this war, who want to get into entrepreneurship, who want to work remotely and live comfortably in Armenia, of course, to give them the tools, to give people the tools to be able to find clients outside, get paid in US or Euro or whatever, but live comfortably in Armenia. Not at 1,000, maybe 5, maybe 10. I'm happy with whatever. But as prosperous as the imagination will allow them to be. I mean, that's it. So the first thing is that group. We're starting there. The next thing I want to do, which is part of that group, I'm going to be creating a community It's going to be maybe once a month, maybe more. We'll do like networking events. And the way that I see it is to talk about interesting business opportunities in Armenia, find possible investors, right? The whole point is to create connections. For me, that's what I do. I'm a connector. I like putting together communities. I like building, my job is building people's businesses and brands to connect them with their ideal clients. So I want to bring this skill set to Armenia and help in any way, shape, or form, help any business I believe in, anybody that I think has the potential. I also have my own business ventures in Armenia, some investments, some projects that I'm starting to work on. And then, of course, the final big one is we're trying to create our Work from Armenia challenge. You'll be hearing more about that very soon. We actually, we just wrapped up some preliminary stuff, and it's actually going to be very, very professional. It's going to be quite big, so we're very excited about that. You will be hearing more about it undoubtedly. But yeah, the goal is to remind the world that, hey, Armenia is safe. It's open. Come here. Come spend your money. And come live comfortably in Armenia if you choose to stick around. So,
great. That's a lot of stuff to do for upcoming year. Like let's do it this way. Like after 1 year, we will do one more podcast with you, and we will discuss what kind of results you have in Armenia and which programs were successful, which one were changed, and let's discuss the positive results next time. Like I will wait for you in Armenia, and we can have some drinks when you will come back.
yeah, happy to do that. I'll be there in 1 month, 2 months.
Great.
Very excited to go back.
Amazing. Like, thank you very much for your time. Like, hope to see you soon in Armenia. And as we agreed, like we will talk like after like half year or 1 year, one more time to discuss the results and what was done.
Excellent. I want to just put a little parentheses for everyone else and for myself. Success to me, what is success for living in Armenia is living a nice life, being comfortable, enjoying the beautiful sceneries in the mountains, and patronizing my favorite places. You don't have to come to Armenia. Oh, pardon me. Yeah, you don't have to come to Armenia and become some national hero or whatever. All you got to do is just
or found or create $1 billion company.
Yeah, just come, do your thing, spend money, live comfortably, and even if you are totally selfish and you don't want to help anybody, to give to any charities, you just want to enjoy the lifestyle, go and do it. You're still going to be helping. So you're going to be creating value. You're going to be creating money. You're going to be creating wealth for the people who are there. And at the end of the day, that's what matters. So
great. Thank you very much. And see you soon in Yerevan.
See you.
Bye.
Come on.